Hello, hello out there. There we go. There he is. Hello.
Dude, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I've been looking forward to this. This is really gonna be fun.
Yes, yes, yes. How have you been since we last spoke?
I'm good. I moved into my own place, so I'm actually doing really well. I got all my stuff.
I was
I'm
gonna
I'm
say
packing all my stuff.
the new background looks excellent. Well done.
Thank you very much. I'm trying at least. How are you?
Pretty good. It was a long day at work today. They had uh, SAT testing in school, so it was exhausting.
Mm,
But
I bet.
we're here
At least you have
now.
your Batman manga shirt on. I love that shirt, by the way.
Exactly. Gotta
Yeah.
represent Jiro Kuwata.
I
Bat
love it, man.
manga. Well, perfect transition into our topic
Perfect
for the.
transition. Yeah, it's perfect. It's like it was planned.
Oh, how interesting! So for
Weird.
those for those of you who are out there watching on the internet, we're going to be discussing the Tony Daniel written and drawn series, Batman: Battle for the Cowl. An excellent little comic book series. A short one, but you know what? Brevity is the soul of wit, as the Bard once said.
Hey, as they say. I think it's great. It's a great lead up to what would turn into a phenomenal Grant Morrison Batman and Robin run. I
Yes.
think like really a kind of like a stereotype changing Batman and Robin run, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, okay, can you expand on what you mean by that? So what's funny is I had not read this series, but unsurprising to anyone who follows me, I adore Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin. And
Oh yeah, totally.
when that series was coming out, Dave Baker in my chat said that Frank Quitely art, though. Yeah, that the Frank Quitely art in that initial Batman and Robin arc is just mwah, so good.
Mind blowing.
But yeah, I initially had glossed over this one because I was like, Grant Morrison's not writing this, so I was kind of like, I don't know if I need to read this. And I certainly enjoyed it, but there was a part of me in the back of my mind that was kind of like, I feel like if Grant Morrison had written this, I'd probably enjoy it just a little bit more. You know what I mean?
No, I completely agree. I love it for the fact that we get to explore Nightwing a lot, which in ways that um, kind of aren't really too explored too much with Nightwing, especially with Bruce being gone.
Yes.
Having Bruce not in the picture, like literally not in the picture at this point. Read Grant Morrison's Final Crisis to see where Bruce went. Um,
And even then, you might
but
be a little confused as to where
well, yeah,
exactly.
you'll be confused. But the takeaway from that is Bruce is now gone. Gotham is falling apart,
Right.
and Gotham needs Batman. You can tell, and all the heroes can tell. All the heroes can tell, the citizens can tell, and especially the villains can tell
Yes.
that this city needs a Batman. And everyone just literally, oh, Bruce is gone, and everyone kind of does that little turn look towards Dick Grayson, and he's just like, "We're doing our best, guys." Like they see Dick Grayson as the obvious choice to take over as Batman.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, in the story, he does. He does want to take it. Like, it's not that he wants to, but he's like, yeah, I can easily do this. I was told not to. I was told not to. I was told that Nightwing would be enough. Nightwing and Robin would be enough to save this city. And unfortunately, in one of the rare occurrences that Bruce kind of underestimates, the city
Yeah, it's a
itself.
really interesting way of looking at it. It's
Yeah.
a moment where um, it's kind of like a sort of heartwarming in a sense because it shows
Yeah.
the faith that Bruce Wayne as a character has in Dick Grayson and the rest of the Bat family to
Yeah.
maintain order in the chaos of Gotham City.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is a testament to the power of the symbol of Batman, right? That he is, whether he's present or not, he is a symbol of order in the madness and chaos of Gotham City. That without it, the stability that he has provided will inevitably fall apart.
Exactly.
I did want to ask this question before we get too deep into the story
We're
itself.
too deep
No,
into
no,
this
no.
book.
I'm enjoying
Yeah.
this. This is great. I wanted to ask you because for those of you who might not follow For the Love of Comics already, you are like Nightwing fan number one in my book. And I was curious, what is it about Dick Grayson as a character that draws you to him? Why is he your favorite character? I might be putting words in your mouth there, but I've kind of assumed he's your favorite character.
He legitimately is. Dick Grayson is legitimately my favorite character. Dick Grayson being the first Robin, being the first sidekick, he humanized Batman. Dick Grayson, in a way, brought some levity to Batman, brought some joy to the mythos of Batman very quickly into it. Even in the Golden Age stuff, they brought Dick Grayson in as the sidekick, very first sidekick of comics. They brought him in to give kids something to look forward to be like, to strive for. Like, oh, I can partner with Batman. I can be a hero like Batman. Mm-hmm. If Dick Grayson can, I can. And DC Comics ran with that ever since. You don't really get to really dive too much else into Dick Grayson until the George Perez and Mark Wolfman New Teen Titans run, right, when he's still Robin at the time, but you explore so much more with Dick Grayson, because really the thing I love about Dick Grayson is his relationships. Dick Grayson, that's the thing that really is probably the pinnacle of who he is you judge him by his relationships. Ongoing joke is, right, like he's best friends with all his ex-girlfriends, right? And there's a reason for that. Like, he's the backup leader of the Justice League if Batman's gone. Batman is the only one that he feels that would take over the Justice League would be Dick Grayson. There's several instances in the comics of him saying that. In Kingdom Come, in Kingdom Come, they reference that Dick Grayson is almost pretty much infallible. Like, he is the ultimate sense of what it means to be good. To me, what it means to be a good person. He's screwed up. Of course he has. There's a lot of screw-ups with Dick Grayson. There's been a lot of trauma with Dick Grayson. But the reason I love Dick Grayson really is, especially, it's very apparent when he takes over as Batman, right? Bruce Wayne fights to stop evil, where Dick Grayson there is fighting to help good, to further good. Now, most of the time they align very well, but sometimes Batman's going to go dark to stop evil, not necessarily to help good, but to stop evil. There is a slight difference, and Dick Grayson takes it all the way into like this kind of beacon of what it means to be good.
And I think that's emphasized so beautifully in the Morrison run, where you have the really fun personality dynamic switch with Knight.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, exactly. with Dick as Batman being the more like sort of like upbeat, positive, but he's Batman, versus Damian, who's like grumpy, dark, cynical, but he's Robin. Which is why I love that dynamic between the two of them so much. And anytime there's a reference to that partnership, I always get like excited or emotionally invested in it, because that run was so phenomenal, and that team up between the two of them is so well fleshed out by Morrison, and it's such a simple little twist of what we're used to, but it also perfectly portrays why Batman needs a Robin. Regardless of who is that Batman, the Robin needs to be there to provide that counterbalance to whoever Batman is. Which is funny, because we've now lived in a world where we've had more Batman comics with Robin in them than without them, and yet almost every film adaptation has never included Robin in it.
It's difficult to do. It's got to be difficult to do, and I understand, because it's very unrealistic to have this little kid running around with this adult on rooftop, right? It's very comic booky. It's very comic booky, and but I think the point of that is to show that even kids, because that's what comics started out with, right? It was a kids medium, it was a kids thing, back in like Golden Age comics and stuff, and I like it for the fact that it inspires. Mm-hmm. Dick Grayson and a lot of the Teen Titans and a lot of the teen heroes inspire kids. They can see themselves in these characters more easily than they can the adult heroes. Not saying that they can't. Obviously, kids see themselves as Spider-Man all the time. But but that's another one. Spider-Man. Spider-Man was a very teen hero for a very long time. Actually, people forget that.
And
he was in high school for a long time.
Spider-Man arguably has more in common with Dick Grayson than he does with Bruce Wayne.
I completely agree with that. Completely. Yeah. Especially the quips.
Definitely. Yeah.
And
it is.
Oh,
no, sorry. Go ahead.
This story, back to the Battle of the Cowl story. Yeah. This is since we're talking about Robin so much, this is a focus on the Robins.
Yes.
You see 3 different Robins and how they function within the context of Gotham and within the context of Batman, what they think Batman needs to be.
Right.
We start off with Tim, right? Tim is the first one to really show us that, there needs to be a Batman. He wants it to be Dick Grayson, but he's like, you're not doing it, but someone needs to. Here we go. And he's the more the detective. He's the more of the finding the clues and following the clues to take him on. But he's too young. He's too experienced. He's still Robin. Yeah. Right?
And I really loved that Tony Daniel emphasized that detective side of Tim Drake in this comic, which I think is the thing that makes Tim Drake as a Robin stand out the most. I mean, he figured out Bruce Wayne was Batman. That's how he became Robin. So he is the most analytical and the most detective-minded of all of the sidekick characters. He's the one who can actually rival Bruce as the world's greatest detective versus the others who are, strong crime fighters and have detective qualities in their own right, but I think he's the one that's clearly that's the aspect of Bruce Wayne that he really took after.
I completely agree. Yes, he's the soldier. He's the one in line with Bruce. He's the one that I feel kind of lines up with what Bruce has become in modern day comics for sure. But still having that levity of being a team. He's still there, kind of thing. But that leads the not levity part that leads into Jason Todd. Jason Todd comes in, and his idea of what Batman needs to be, which is all vengeance. It's all vengeance tonight, that's Batman saying, I am vengeance, right? I am the knight, I am Batman. He takes that very much to heart.
Yes.
With the vengeance part.
And so here's my take on Jason Todd. The way he's portrayed in this story is kind of my preferred Jason Todd.
Sure.
I kind of like Jason Todd being this more like Punisher antagonist character than being part of the Bat family.
Sure.
Because to me, if you make him part of the Bat family, it's like, this dude is way more pro-murder than anyone else in this group.
He
should not be in the Bat family. It does not make sense. So I like him being this almost sort of quasi-antagonist Punisher figure rather than he's just the bad boy of the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the big thing that's one of the big things I have, kind of an issue I have with a lot of writers of Jason Todd is that whenever he's in a Batman book, he's always defunct it back down to that bad boy and the bad boy of the Bat family. He doesn't have much depth. Jason Todd has a massive amount of depth. How much trauma he had to go through to be where he is today. I completely agree with you. Actually, I like how he is in this comic. He's on the edge. But he has a mission still. He's not outright supervillain, like what Grant Morrison does with him at the end of the Batman and Robin run. He goes back to the helmet and he has the cape and everything.
Looks cool though. Gotta say, he looks cool as hell.
It looks cool. And if you're gonna give Dick Grayson a nemesis, Jason Todd is a good nemesis to have for that particular storyline. I thought that was a really good storyline. But in this one, Jason Todd asks nobody.
Yeah.
He doesn't need permission in his mind for anything, especially when it comes to Batman, and especially that whole monologue that the hologram Bruce says to Dick Grayson in this series, Battle for the Cowl. Just like, you were my one mistake. I was like, wow, Bruce, that was quite brutal. And no wonder so much trauma is involved with Jason Todd, but that's kind of Jason Todd. That's his character. That's what drives him.
But which is why I feel like all the more reason that Jason shouldn't be part of the Bat family proper, to emphasize that idea of he is the proof that Batman is not infallible. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And he is the living embodiment of this idea of Batman's war on crime has collateral damage that he needs to be held accountable for if he's really going to be an effective superhero.
I completely agree. I think Jason Todd is that kind of outskirts character. I think he should be a character that, especially Bruce, is always trying to help, trying to fix, because that's Bruce, right?
Right.
He's always trying to fix the problem, solve the problem. But yeah, he should. I agree with you. He should never probably be part of the actual Bat family. So.
There's
It doesn't
a
make sense.
yeah. There's an interesting phenomenon. I wanted to get your take on this because as I was reading this Battle for the Cowl book, I kept thinking about this, and I was thinking about it a lot because as sort of an extracurricular for this book club, I read the Webtoons Wayne Family Adventures comic, which I hadn't got a chance to check out yet.
I do too. Okay, go on.
Perfect.
Go on.
So I find it interesting that I almost feel like Batman fans have this interesting split where there are people who are hardcore Batman fans specifically who will talk about how like Batman solos everyone with prep time and whatever. And then there are people who like are just fans of the sidekicks. Who like never talk about Batman, but are like will obsess over like Dick Grayson and Tim Drake and Damian and Jason and Barbara and all those characters. And I'm not saying one group is superior to the other, but I do find it really fascinating that these two subcultures have diverged and evolved. And I'm curious to know, like, what is your take on that? Why do you think there is this subsection of fandom that's just Batman sidekick fans?
Yeah, I love it. Like that's half my TikTok for you page is the sidekick fans, and so I like it. I like having the back and forth because I feel very split myself between them. Sure. I love that Bruce kind of dark grittiness. I like adding the Robins into that world as well. I like having them all go between. Like I like having Bruce in the kind of more lighthearted Robin's land kind of too, like kind of that weird kind of like grumpy dad kind and kind of thing. You know, I like both of them. But I definitely see the line between them. It's hard to merge them on a continual basis. Yeah, you kind of have to have the two separate worlds.
It almost feels like, and again, this is not like a gatekeeping judgment thing, but those two groups feel like they want very different things out of their comics.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure, and that's what they love, which I completely agree. I find myself in both camps quite often.
Totally.
But yeah, it's not very often where both of those kind of collide too much.
Right.
And I feel like it has to be a very, very specific story for those two kind of worlds to collide in a right way. Like I said, both those characters can be in each other's world. That's totally fine. But having a story where it goes from the dark and gritty to like the kind of playfulness, it's kind of difficult to do without a specific story in mind.
Definitely. Someone in my chat here, Hondo Comic Shop, said, I think at its core, a good Batman story needs a Robin. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Or the sidekicks involved in some capacity, which is why I think Batman the Animated Series works so well, because it does a really good job of utilizing those sidekick characters. Granted, sometimes it uses them more sparingly than others, but it gets that like they're a key part of the whole dynamic, and they need to be utilized rather than just pushed off to the side.
No, I completely agree.
I do wonder though, like I'm still curious though, like what it is that like has made this like split and divide. And I think part of it is the like people enjoy, there's that subculture of superhero comic book fans specifically that really enjoy teen heroes, where you get like your Teen Titans, your Young Avengers, and I think the Batman family is kind of just the ultimate group of teen heroes, because like you said, you have the original teen sidekick there, and Batman is the most popular character, so obviously a group of characters that is just teen versions of Batman in different variations will inevitably become super popular.
I agree. I just like the irony of it, that one of the most isolated dark heroes that is all secretive and works in the shadows has probably the biggest family out of any superhero.
He's up to double-digit sidekicks now. He's got at least 10 that we could probably list off.
Then counting all the other ones, there's like Alfred and Azrael,
right,
and his pets and Damian's pets. Like, that family's ridiculous. Oracle. Yeah, like it gets ridiculous. But I find that very funny. That the irony in that one is funny.
Absolutely. Which, again, going back to Morrison's run, I feel bad. I feel bad because, again, like, reading the Tony Data book, I'm like, just like, man, you know what's really good? Grant Morrison's Batman.
Grant Morrison could have done something with it. He was on something.
Yeah, they really kicked ass with this. But, yeah, I love the way that they include that idea in, I believe it's Batman R.I.P. It's either Batman R.I.P. or Return of Bruce Wayne, where there's that great, like, final culmination where he says, like, the one truth of Batman is that I had help. The idea that he rings that bell after getting the shit kicked out of him that first night out, and he sees the bat, and by ringing that bell, it emphasizes the fact that, like, Batman was never alone. He always had at least Alfred, then he had Robin, then he has Batgirl, then he has the other Robins, then he has Oracle and Spoiler and all these other characters.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon, or even the Batmen of many nations. All of these characters create this tapestry that proves that Batman's not the lone wolf that everybody emphasizes him to be. No, it's that he has this network of people around him, which makes him so much greater than just a single guy. It makes him the symbol that everybody makes him out to be. Hano Comic Shop says, I guess I need to read this Morrison version? They seem kind of cool. Yeah, Grant Morrison, good at comics. Hot take, but good at comics.
They know what they're doing over there. Grant Morrison's run, Grant Morrison invented Damian Wayne. Yes. He gave Dick Grayson a chance at being Batman for a long period of time to really develop as Batman. And that's what I love personally about it. Then Grant Morrison developed a whole, like you mentioned, the international team of Batman, the Batman International, which really kind of dives into different cultures and different Batmen of the world, which I really enjoyed as well.
Yeah, I was thrilled when I was reading through this and Knight and Squire popped up, because I think those characters are just a hoot.
Yes.
They're very fun.
Just a hoot, yeah. They're really good, yeah. It's really... Batman Light is those two. That's really good. Like, Batman Robin Light.
If there's anybody out here watching this, there's a really good, I think it was Paul Cornell who wrote it, but it came out around this time. There's like a 6-issue Knight and Squire miniseries, which is really fun because it's basically just like a little deep dive into their world, and there's some cool world building of their rogues gallery and things like that I would definitely recommend people check out.
They're the British Batman and Robin.
Yes, they're terrific. Love them. But again, like that's a weird, goofy Silver Age concept that Morrison went back to in their run and said, like, all right, let's bring this back. How do we update this? How do we modernize this? Because Grant Morrison never meant a Silver Age concept that they couldn't reinvent somehow in a long-term run.
They couldn't just leave anything alone. They're like, oh, this could be something.
Yeah, exactly.
And let me do something with that. And so that was really good. But I think the Battle for the Cowl book really is a great lead up to Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin run in that sense. And so we mentioned, we saw Jason Todd take over the mantle of Batman, trying to with his kind of warped sense of what the cowl meant. And so this is kind of like the ignition that Dick Grayson needed. They kind of like, okay, well, I can't let him be Batman. So like, it's kind of like the brothers fighting with each other, especially at the end, the very last train fight. Yeah, very last train scene was very much the brothers fighting with each other, and then like good overcoming over evil.
Absolutely.
Like doing the right thing, overcoming vengeance. Forgiveness coming over vengeance, kind of thing. So I thought that was a really, really cool kind of take on it, and leads into then Dick Grayson becoming Batman.
So this actually connects back to a conversation I was having a couple weeks ago with Danny when we were talking about Omega Men, and we were talking about the legacy heroes of DC. And I was curious, in your mind, when Dick Grayson became Batman, there wasn't really a ton of like controversy or outcry about that. But a lot of times when we see new characters step into certain shoes, step into titles, step into roles, there's sometimes some controversy and outcry from less than reputable parts of fandom, but it does happen, right? I'm curious to get your take. I think there's an obvious answer to this question, but I would like to hear your thoughts on this. Why is it that we didn't get that outcry when Dick Grayson became Batman? Why were people much more willing to accept Dick Grayson as Batman?
I think a little part of that was because he had been Batman before. He'd taken over after Nightfall. When Bane broke Bruce's back, and after Jean-Paul was taken mantle back from Jean-Paul, Dick Grayson took over as Batman for a little bit in a really cool Chuck Dixon story called Batman Prodigal, which is really, really good. That's when he kind of first takes over. But with Tim as his Robin in those when he fights Two-Face. But I think the bigger thing is it seemed natural. Of course, Dick Grayson is the next in line for Batman. Dick Grayson was trained. He's the son. He's the heir apparent. Is what I'm saying. Obviously, Damon is Bruce Wayne's son. Damian Wayne is Bruce Wayne's son. But I think Robin and Nightwing is like the metaphorical son of Batman, the next in line.
Definitely.
He's the prince apparent, prince heir of the throne is Dick Grayson. I think that's kind of the thing where people are like, oh yeah, of course Dick Grayson's going to take over as Batman. Bruce is gone. I think that's you kind of see that in the comic itself of Batman Battle for the Cowl, where all the heroes were like, why isn't he taking over? What's going on? Why we expected him to do so. And so even Dick Grayson himself, even though like through on after this, like, and especially after his time as Batman during the Grant Morrison run, he looks back and is just like, it changes you wearing that cowl, right? It changes who you are. You have to be a different person you have to live up to the cowl itself, right? He made it his own, but you're still, at the end of the day, you're Batman.
Yeah, it's telling that he really doesn't hesitate to go back to being Nightwing when Bruce Wayne returns.
Yeah, he wants to. I mean, he stays Batman for a little bit when Bruce is back because of the Batman International, right? He's the Batman of Gotham.
Yes.
But yes, he eventually goes back to being Nightwing very easily.
Yeah.
Because that's a hero that he developed. This is his baby, his persona. Just like Batman is, Bruce is the mask of Batman, right? Batman is who he is. Right. Nightwing is this character of who he is because it's a combination of both the people that raised him, Bruce, Batman, and also Superman, right? He was raised in all this gold and silver age world's finest. We're always those three, Batman, Superman, and then Dick Grayson and Robin, always running together and building this kind of amazing, kind of fun world together. And so Dick Grayson grew up with both those kind of virtues of fighting evil and crime and vengeance, and also installing hope in others. So you get the best of both worlds, of both Superman and Batman when it comes to Dick Grayson.
And that's such an interesting thing about Dick Grayson as a character that I wish was explored more, which is that he grew up in the world of superheroes. You know, not many characters really can say that they basically were raised as a superhero. You know what I mean?
It was. Yeah,
it has become such a fundamental part of his identity in a way that, many superhero characters become heroes in adulthood, versus Dick Grayson, who kind of another parallel he has with Peter Parker, with Spider-Man, where from such a young age, he's really thrust into this larger world that he doesn't fully understand. And it kind of makes me sad that we're at a point where in comics it's harder to tell a lot of really substantial long-term stories with characters because there is a tendency for comics to get canceled and rebooted so rapidly and so quickly. There was a lot of discussion about the Jonathan Kent getting into a relationship with I'm forgetting the character's name, but the character who he seems to be entering into a relationship with in his new book. And
the boy reporter, yeah.
Yes.
Pink-haired boy reporter, yeah.
I think Nakamura, is his last name. Is it Jay? Is it Jay Nakamura? I think that might be it. But I saw some people who were like, wow, it feels like they're really rushing this relationship. And there's a part of me that's like, well, they don't know if they're going to get canceled in the next 5 issues. You know what I mean? I don't blame a writer for being like, yeah, I'm going to shortcut this because Lord knows if I'm going to find out this gets canceled at issue 10. You know what I mean? I wish... sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I completely agree. If we're going to jump on that little thing for a second, I'm happy to talk about it. A big thing that people have been kind of arguing against with me, oh, this is a subject, you can't just make him bi, can't make Superman bi, can't make Superman gay. And I was like, well, he is Superman, and just make a new character, make them gay. He is.
He is a new character.
He's 5 years old, and a majority of the time he's been a kid.
Right.
He's been a kid, and now we're exploring his sexuality. Now that he's an older teen now.
Right.
Also, don't get me started on how he became an older teen. That was ridiculous. But he became this older teen really quickly, and now we're exploring with him his own life. Right. And his sexuality is a part of his life, and that's what we're kind of getting into.
And someone pointed out to me that not only is we are exploring his identity, but let's not forget, he spent time in the year 3000, whatever, with the Legion of Superheroes, where I'm sure their concept of sexual identity is totally beyond what we in the year 2021 think of. So he definitely got exposure to a lot of new ideas and ways of thinking that have likely influenced himself, and now he's bringing it back. And of course he's not going to be an entirely straight character after having these rich experiences that he's had.
He's a very fluid character in many different senses, because if you read Tom Taylor's actual book, which I've been super enjoying,
it's great.
It's a extremely different take on Superman in ways that most of his battles, we're only 3 issues in, but most of his battles has never thrown a punch.
Yeah.
He's calmed the situation down. He's solved these issues where traditional Superman would have, knocked the guy out to try to calm the situation down. But John talks it out, goes in for the hug, because he knows he can't be hurt.
Right.
He knows he can't be doing this. So he's taking the next step, be like, listen, you can't hurt people around me. I can help.
Right.
Let me help you. And they do. I've loved this series because it's taken Superman in a completely different direction that I think is extremely refreshing.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think it's really interesting to say, and it's funny because Tom Taylor's doing a similar thing with Nightwing right now, which is how could we take these characters?
Okay.
How can we take these characters and have them focus on the systemic roots of problems rather than just the punching roots of problems, right? There is such a vast difference between those two things, and even though they're thematically similar, I think Taylor's doing a nice job of approaching them in the way that it makes logical sense for those respective characters to deal with those problems. And it's funny because he's doing it with the sort of sons of the larger characters in the way that you probably could have done with Superman and Clark Kent and with Batman and Bruce Wayne. Yeah, because it's Nightwing is dealing with it from the fiscal and entrepreneurial sphere, while Jonathan Kent is doing much more direct restorative practice in order to solve these issues.
Yes.
So it's great. I love it.
I think it's been phenomenal. And Tom Taylor, back to, not to harp on him too much, but to praise his glory is actually what I should say. But he's been great with representation, and that's really been very apparent with his Superman run, making John Kent bi. But also with Nightwing, he's really focusing a lot on Dick Grayson's Romani heritage as well. So bringing a different kind of representation into comics and showing that it doesn't, if you look like these characters, if you can look like these characters and you can see yourself in these characters. I think that's been a super big thing that it's very important to me, at least, is that kids, and not only kids but everyone, see themselves in these characters and be inspired by these characters. And it's hard to do that if you don't see yourself in these characters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think the representation is massively important. And it blows my mind. Clark Kent is still with Lois Lane. Calm down, everybody. He's still Superman. He's still with Lois. He's fine. But the new Superman is John Kent, right? Yes. Clark Kent left. He's Superman now, and that's another thing. People are like, just change his name, just give him a new identity. No, he's Superman. Look at Ben Reilly and Peter Parker. They're both Spider-Man right now. Miles Morales and Peter Parker. They're both Spider-Man. Why don't they give different names for them? No, because they live up to the title of what they're representing.
Totally.
He lives up to what Superman represents. Peter Parker, Miles Morales, Ben Reilly live up to what Spider-Man represents. And so it's the same thing that happened when Sam Wilson took over as Captain America, or Jane Foster took over as Thor, right? It's fine. They're Thor. That's Captain America. It's a role. It's a title, and they live up to it.
And it's also, if you're mad about it, well, then you should have bought more comics that had brand new characters in them. Because the reason why they typically don't give them brand new names is because they don't have the brand recognition. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
I don't mean to be cynical about it, but there is the business side of things that they have to consider. And if a comic has Superman on it, people are more likely to buy it than, I don't know, Krypton Kid or whatever other kind of name you would give him. Exactly. So,
real quick, Ambrosia Comic and Cupcakes says preach, and so she's amazing. Thank you, Ambrosia, for dropping by. Ambrosia. This is amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. But yeah, I completely agree. It's not only from a marketing point of view. I think I did a TikTok video about this. Another TikTok creator said, like, if you like this stuff, buy the comics. And I agree. If you like where this is going, support the comics, because really at the end of the day, these companies just care about the bottom line. They'll drop whatever they're doing at the drop of a hat if it's going to make them money somewhere else doing something else. So
Totally.
If you like the representation, if you like seeing yourself in these comics, go support it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to anybody out there who's like, oh, I don't want them to force it. It's like, people are just gay or bisexual or trans.
I don't understand it either.
Like, I don't understand.
Like the biggest thing. Yeah. There's literal stories about Lois Lane trying to date Superman. Like, heterosexual love is like literal main stories of comics. How is that not in your face? But just a picture. Like, I guarantee this next story coming up with John, it's not about his bisexuality. There's going to be other stuff going on too. It's going to be a factor of it, a part of it, because that's a part of who he is. But not his complete total. Like, I don't know.
It's just got two dudes who kiss. Calm down.
It's got two dudes who kiss.
The thing that drives me nuts is people are like, well, I just hope they don't make it in your face. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't understand how just someone's like existence can be too in your face, but we don't.
I don't get it. There's literal covers of men and women kissing. Yeah. There's covers. How's that not in your face? I don't get it. It blows my mind, man.
People. Anyway.
Anyway.
But I think that it is interesting seeing the way that like these characters, whether it's Dick Grayson, whether it's Jonathan Kent, it is very interesting seeing the way that these characters are brought into these roles and the way people react to them. And I do think that, again, I'm being a little cynical here, but I think people also are fine with. I think people are also fine with Nightwing taking on Batman because he is a white cisgendered male. So they're like, yeah, all right, he can be Batman. It's fine. But then, if Jonathan Kent is Superman, everyone was fine with it until it turns out he's bisexual. And now everybody's got a problem with it. So it's like, okay, you've proven that your real issue is your homophobia. Thank you.
Exactly. Yes, because Dick Grayson, especially during this time, like not especially during this time when Battle for the Cows is what I'm talking about, but like leading up to this time, Dick Grayson really kind of represented that kind of like all-American boy kind of like traditional kind of thing that we had about them. Was all right, like the kind of slightly toxic masculinity with it as well. I can have as many girlfriends as I want. I'm cool for doing that. I can sleep around. I'm totally fine. I'm the cool guy for doing that kind of thing. So it kind of fit into that. Yeah, I guess I was very optimistic and very like in the clouds kind of way of explaining it. But yes, I see your point as well, for sure.
Yeah, no, and again, I think that he's a great character, and I think story-wise it definitely makes total sense for him to take over. But it is always funny to me when people suddenly have the outcry and the anger towards a certain character taking over, and at what point does the tipping point happen? It's the same thing with Bucky versus Sam. I don't remember anybody being mad when Bucky took over as Cap, but Sam Wilson becomes Cap, and everybody loses their minds. It's like, okay, well,
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me at all. But I mean, that is what it is. Yeah. It got some attention on it. I don't like the negative attention, but it got some people to pick up the book. Hopefully, a lot of this stuff like got new readers involved. I know from my social media pages and then from actual friends that I know in person have come up to me and be like, "Is this true? Is John bisexual?" Yeah. You're like, okay, I want to read that. Do you have that at your store? Of course, I will gladly get you a copy. Not a problem. But like, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, because I think that's super, like you said, that's ridiculously important that a lot of people don't see themselves in comics.
Right.
And so they can't identify with these characters and can't be inspired by what they represent.
Yeah.
And so it's important.
And even,
you can have all of them.
And even just beyond the sexuality aspect, like he's shaping up to being a really interesting character, and it's shaping up to be a really great story separate from the identity that he now has been revealed to have. So, which I love. It's awesome.
I agree. To throw off on that, to go off on that, it's just he's a different take on Superman that I think people have been complaining so much about Superman being that he's just a powerhouse. You know, he just punches things all the time. So taking that and being like 180ing it and be like, no, he actually doesn't need to. He inspires.
Right.
He inspires people. He loves people. He can help people in different ways rather than lifting his fist.
And how does he cope with issues and problems that he can't just punch away? You know, I think that's a really important aspect of that story too, is saying, all right, let's put him in situations where punching your way out of the problem is probably going to make things demonstrably worse rather than fix the issue that you're facing.
And I think probably sexuality is a good place to start with that, because
Absolutely.
I mean, you're just going to get people that are going to voice their opinions. They're not going to try to take over the world or rob a bank. So they're just going to be voicing their negative opinions. So he's going to have to deal with that in a non-violent way.
Absolutely.
And that's a good way to go.
Yeah. All right. To
right.
kind of put a cap on things for the night, I feel like we should discuss our personal Bat Family rankings.
I would love to. I've been waiting all night for this.
All right. So, give me what are your rankings? Why don't we start from like bottom to the top?
Well, okay, what are we ranking? Just them, like, with my favorites, or what are they?
Your personal favorites.
My personal favorites. Okay.
Right.
I'm probably gonna lose a lot of people. Ready? Okay, here we go.
Go for it.
One of probably my least favorite of the Batman family, definitely has to be Jason Todd. I'm not a huge fan of Jason.
I'm gonna put him in the same spot. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Jason Todd. At least how he's been written. I actually legitimately enjoy him in the Red Hood series when he's by himself.
Sure.
But it's rare that that's here anymore. Usually he's interacting with the Bat family in some way. And like I mentioned earlier in the live, if he's not in his own book, he's written in a very one-dimensional tone.
Totally.
And it just doesn't fly with me. So
yeah, I would also be putting
my bottom tier would probably be Jason Todd.
Yeah, I would also be putting Jason Todd on the bottom. Sorry, Jason Todd stands.
Yeah, sorry, I lost half my followers. But that's fine. Speak the truth. Probably. I'm not a huge fan of. Stephanie Brown would be next, probably, and that's just because I think they haven't done anything with her.
Sure.
It's not her character herself. I think especially that Tim Drake is also bisexual as well and trying to date this other gentleman. I think having Stephanie Brown away from Tim Drake will probably open her up to more character building, and I might have a different opinion on her later.
Yeah, I would probably put her in the same area for the same reason. Like, a character who I think has a lot of potential, and I wish they would explore more with the, like, her dad is a bad supervillain. Like, and by bad I mean like a crappy one. Like, he's not very good at being
a terrible supervillain. Yeah, he doesn't know how to do it. Is what he doesn't know how to do it.
Which is a funny bit, especially in Gotham City. But yeah, a character who I'm excited about that Batgirls series.
Me too. I'm very excited for the Batgirls series.
I said DC finally figured it out, which is that people don't want Batman comics. They want comics about Batman's sidekicks. That's what people want.
Exactly, because we're gonna get Robins.
We're gonna get Robins
about all the dude Robins.
Yeah.
But even they have Stephanie Brown in there too, which I was very excited about.
Go.
They rarely ever like lump her into the Robins, but she was Robin.
And you got Wayne Family Adventures.
You got Robin and Batman, the new 3-part miniseries, which I'm very excited about. So yeah, they're finally throwing that out there. But I think that's why I'm not a huge fan of Stephanie Brown. They usually have her as Tim's love interest for a long time.
Right.
And so, especially during Tim Drake's long Robin series in the late 90s to late 2000s, they have her as his love interest, and that kind of like didn't do much for me. So I think the next person is going to be along the same lines. Duke Thomas, they haven't done much with.
Yeah, he's another one where I'm like, I like him on paper, but I want to see more from him before I can rank him higher.
I want to explore his signal powers. Like, they don't really do much with that he actually has powers. And so they haven't really done much with that yet. And so having Duke Thomas there, I think, is really cool in the aspect of, like, he's the newest one. And so we get to kind of, like, see what people would come in fresh to the Batman family get to witness, and how the craziness, and this is actually really insane, people. Like, are you not realize how insane you all are? You know, like, aspect of it.
Which you get in Wayne Family Adventures. I wish I saw more of that in the regular continuity, because that's really fun.
Exactly. He does it every once in a while, but, like, they haven't done anything with him. So I think he's rather low on my list for celebrity. I have nothing against the character himself, but I can't wait
costume design. Good costume
design. I like his costume. He's bright. You know, he's just like classic Robin, right? He's
Totally.
there. He's the distraction, right? He's there. Yeah. So, but here we go. We're getting harder now. Okay. I think probably the next person would probably be Tim. Tim. I like Tim Drake would probably be next. Because I only have a couple more left. Tim Drake would probably be next. I love Tim Drake.
Yeah.
I think he fits very well. I love him in the new Nightwing series right now. Him kind of being like his Dick Grayson's de facto little Robin character, which I love.
Right.
And sidekick in that aspect. I love him as I think Tim Drake works very well as a Robin. I think he works very well. I totally forgot about Damian. Switch him. I'm gonna have Damian next, actually. Damian Wayne is very low on my list. I'm not a huge fan of Damian Wayne.
This is where I would put Tim Drake.
This is great for Tim Drake.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I like Tim Drake a lot, but I feel like he kind of suffers from similar things that Stephanie Brown and Duke Thomas are, which is that recently he hasn't been given as much to do, but I am appreciative of the fact that he is showing up more in the Nightwing book.
Yes.
Because I think he deserves more of that spotlight. And
I completely agree. I think that he is a very cool character. They have a lot. He has a lot of personality. He has a lot of mythos behind him. And the fact that he can rival Batman in detective work, I think, is not nearly explored enough.
Totally.
So I think they have a lot to go with him, and I can't wait to see where they go with him.
Which, for all the criticisms I have of the Battle of the Cowl, well, I shouldn't say criticisms, more like my feeling of I wish Grant Morrison had written it. I will say that I thought that Tony Daniels did an excellent job of showing what makes Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake distinct characters. And I think that's a hard thing to do that a lot of writers struggle with nowadays.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I love that distinction. This is a Robin's story, is Battle for the Cowl. It's showing the big three Robins, the ones that really kind of held the position the longest at the time. It's showing exactly what their thoughts were and their feelings and what they believed to be what Batman represented.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Who's your next? Who's your next?
Yeah. It was when Damian. Damian was not. I'm not a huge fan of Damian. I am now. The new Robin miniseries, the new Robin ongoing series is phenomenal.
So good.
I love it so much. Chill Ra's Al Ghul. He's like, I want him on a shirt so bad.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great. I love Chill Ra's is amazing.
That and just bringing in all of these B to D list DC Comics assassin characters to just have a big fight tournament is so great. I'm adoring it. That's a great series.
And not be able to hold back too. I love it. You can die 3 times.
Right.
It's like this weird video game thing, and I love it. But it's really given me an appreciation of Damian. I started to do that a little bit with the Super Sons series with John Kent when he was a kid. But now that we're seeing kind of Damian spread his wings, as they say, I've really been enjoying his character quite a bit.
Totally.
So he could move up as well if he continues down this path. Normally, he's just like this brat little kid.
Right.
So they don't do much with him either. But then next would be Tim for me. For reasons like we've talked about. But then probably after that would probably be Cassandra Cain.
Okay, yes.
Cassandra Cain. I think she has a lot of potential going into the new Batgirls series with Stephanie and Barbara Gordon. She is this master assassin-like character. She's the best fighter in the DC world. She can easily beat Batman with fighting, but she doesn't. She still listens to him. So that shows that she has a lot to learn and she knows it, which I like. I just love the character. There can be a lot done with her. Again, they don't use them too much. A lot of Bat Family people focus on Batman, Dick, and then whatever's going on around.
Yeah.
But I think Cassandra Cain has a lot of depth from her growing up with a mother assassin and a father assassin, and being beaten and trained in a very different way than Damian. Damian was also brought up by assassins, but his mother, he was like the prince heir of Ra's al Ghul.
Right.
But Cassandra Cain was not. She was forced to battle in every kind of situation possible. So I like her kind of character.
I would probably put I would probably put in your Damian Wayne spot. I would probably put Tim Drake. And then in your Tim Drake spot, I would probably put... So I'm going to get technical here. If we're talking
Please.
Barbara Gordon Batgirl, I'd probably put her there, and then I'd put Cassandra Cain above her. But if we're talking Barbara Gordon Oracle, those might get switched a little bit. I like
Which one
her.
is it, though?
I like her more as Oracle.
I just she's
Yeah.
when you see my ranking for her, she's Oracle.
Yeah. I think the talking about like Tim Drake and Cassandra Cain, like how these characters have kind of been like pushed off to the side, and Stephanie Brown. I think the New 52 resetting Barbara Gordon to Batgirl was one of the biggest mistakes that they made. I like that character. Weird. Yeah. And it by resetting her to that, I think it pushed Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown back way too far. And I think it just had this like ripple effects that go beyond just the like name change. Not to mention the fact that like that whole arc of that character is so important and significant, and it makes the Killing Joke feel less gross than it is. A comic that Alan Moore has gone on record as saying he wished he had done differently or hadn't written. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
And I think that redeemed so much of that story, and to just kind of like be like, oh, we undid it. Boop, it's magic, whatever. Don't worry about it. I'm like, that's pointless.
And it takes away from a lot of representation too. Like the physically like handicapped and disabled people, like they don't have really much representation in comic books, right? She was in a wheelchair and still like this badass hero. Yeah. Right? Like, and they took that away so easily. Like, no, she's fine. Yeah. Walking is the correct thing to be doing. Like, okay, like I get it. Like it is what it is. But that took away a lot of like kind of like. Also, she's this huge trauma victim survivor. Right. Like huge. The Killing Joke is brutal, and so like throwing away one of the biggest daily reminders of that trauma kind of like lessened it a little bit, at least.
And the timing of it made everyone confused of like, did the Killing Joke happen? Yeah. Is this in continuity? Like, it made everything even more confusing.
Everyone was confused by New 52. Everyone just walking New 52 was like, so what's real? And then DC's like, don't worry, you'll figure it out. And then never says anything about it.
Yeah, we're like, Superman's origin is totally different. Batman still has 18 sidekicks. What's happening? This doesn't make any sense.
But he's like mid-30s. Yeah. He had them all for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's it's like Robin's become like a summer internship program. Like, what is this?
And we don't talk about the Jason Todd summer. That was odd. Now they have to have permission forms before they come in. Exactly, it's crazy,
ridiculous,
ridiculous.
That's why
I don't know.
That's why I am pro hyper time. I'm pro. Like, don't even worry about it. Is this in continuity? Sure. Do you want it to be? Yes? All right, then it's in continuity. Like, I am all in on hyper time. They did it to themselves. This is so much less confusing. I love it. I'm all in on hyper time.
Yeah, it totally is what it is. But okay, so we're talking Cassandra Cain. You put in, you were switching them depending.
Yeah,
on
I would say that's like my 3 and 4. It can go back and forth because Cassandra Cain, I have a lot of sentimental value because when I started getting into Batman comics, she was Batgirl. So, like, I associate Batgirl a lot with her, and I associate Barbara Gordon as Oracle. So because of that, I'm always like, Cassandra Cain. Cool costume. Badass fighter. Like, there's so many great things about her. And I really hope, speaking of the Batgirls series, I would love to see Cassandra Cain's dad and Stephanie Brown's dad team up and be like supervillain dads.
Terrible villain dad.
Yes, I think it's sitting there. Take that story, run with it. It would be great.
I know we weren't planning on talking about that, but yeah, the new Batgirl comic looks amazing because it has very much it has a lot of Birds of Prey vibes, which is one of my favorite series.
Totally,
because Oracle led that team too for the longest time. If you're looking for a great female-centered comic, written by female writers.
The Gail Simone part of that run is
exactly. That I love the Birds of Prey run. It's so amazing, and this is kind of giving me a lot of those vibes, so I'm very excited.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what they do with it. It's going to be good. All right, so then, who are your top 2?
Oh, well, I think people know my number 1. It's but I think my top two is Oracle. I love Oracle. I think she's extremely useful in all aspects of the Bat family. And even outside the Bat family, I think because before New 52, she was very much involved with the Justice League as well, being their tech person, and so and connecting everything outside of Batman. And so I love when Barbara Gordon is Oracle because she gives so much. How do I put this? She gives so much life to the Batman family in a way and connects them all in a way. She's like, I wouldn't say she's like the mom of the family, but she's definitely like the older sister of the family that brings everyone back together.
Totally.
Which I love Oracle. I love Barbara. First off, also I love Barbara Gordon together. And then of course, number one, Dick Grayson.
Of course.
I think he's amazing. So.
All right. Ready? Number two.
Please, yeah, I'm very excited.
Number two, Dick Grayson. Love him. Great
Okay.
guy. Number one, Damian Wayne with a bullet.
Don't do it
I'm
to me,
all in on Damian Wayne. I love Damian Wayne. He's a little shit, and I love him. Like,
I'm gonna be honest. I did not see that coming. I totally forgot that you hadn't mentioned him yet.
and you know what it was?
God.
You know what it was that like was the thing that I was like, this is my favorite character forever. It was
What?
It was Bat Cow. It was when he adopted a cow and named it Bat
His
Cow.
most redeeming quality to me is his love for animals and his hatred for human beings.
Which
Like, he doesn't care about humans at all. He'll let them die. It's fine. It's like that one meme with Loki. He's like, "Oh, that's very sad." Anyways, when
he
when
takes
humans
after
are
it's taking after his mom and grandpa, and it's
exactly chill rage. But his love for animals is amazing. He'll take any
So
animal,
great.
especially when he was first introduced to Titus. I love that. Those two work well together. And then he got a cat, and then his Bat Cow is probably the greatest invention ever.
It's even better. I think that people don't talk enough about the fact that like the build up to that scene is I think they're fighting Professor Pig, who's in like a slaughterhouse, and he's like running through like slabs of raw meat, and that panel is him standing there covered in like meat juices and saying, "I'm a vegetarian now, and this is Bat Cow." And I'm like, come on, what's not to love about this kid?
He's next on the list for the chopping block. He's like, no, and he just happens to his Bat Cow's spots look on his face look like a Batman mask and has the bat symbol on his face.
It's so incredible.
Perfect.
Comics are good.
Did you ever read? Comics are great. Did you ever read the Bat Cow backup story? In something.
Yes.
Where he's just like standing in the middle of the road eating, and he causes this crash of like the bank robbers, and he like saves the day by doing nothing, by just being a cow.
It's perfect.
And it was the greatest thing.
It's perfect.
I love comic books so much. This is what I love.
All right, take it back. Bat Cow is actually my number one. Then Damian Wayne.
Number one. Move everyone down. We need to make
everyone
a
move down. Bat Cow has to go.
He's a very important member of the Bat family.
He's crucial. He's got to be in the webtoon soon. He better be in the webtoon.
I hope he is, because whenever they show him, he's always just chilling in the Batcave, and Alfred's like feeding him like, "Why are you not doing this, Master Damian? Like, whatever you're doing, like, I'm feeding a cow now."
Oh, we have a cow now. Oh God, he's great. Yeah, no, I love it. I get that people give him a hard time, but I'm like, people I think judge him too much on how he starts and don't think about the fact that like, yes, he's on an arc. Like, he starts off as a shithead because he has to learn to not be a shithead. That's the growth that character goes through, you know?
I completely agree. I've definitely grown to love him for sure, especially starting with the Grant Morrison Batman and Robin run, where the roles of Batman and Robin were reversed,
right?
Where you get a brooding Robin and a very happy Batman. So like I like that. Well, then we move on to what really got me was Super Sons.
Yeah.
I loved Super Sons with him and John and their relationship together. Very Superman, like the extremes of what Superman is and the extreme of what Batman is, right? But then friendship with it, like friendship. And so like it's a crazy dynamic, but I love it. And then leading into the new Robin run really kind of solidified my really love for Damian Wayne right now. So I've been loving the series. So.
Yeah. I love that guy.
It's been great. But yes, the Battle of the Cow, sum it up, it's a simple. It is a simple story, but it's more of like a cool intro to what would next be a really amazing Batman
and I would say if you enjoy the Grant Morrison run, if you were like me and you passed it over, it's definitely worth going back and checking out and reading because it fills in that gap nicely. And it's worth reading because, like we said, it does a nice job of showing the distinction between those three Robins.
Yeah,
And
if you like either Batman or the Robins, and you like the kind of Batman family, it goes a lot in the Batman family. So like
totally.
it's like a really weird like sneak peek into like the Batman family like backdoor room like thing. Oh, you get an invite into what the family dynamics
The
are.
family
Here we
drama
go.
of the Bat
The
family.
family drama of the Bat family. So,
All right, man.
really
Well,
good.
it was really great talking to you again. This was awesome.
Dude, thank you so much. Please
Great
let's
pick.
do this again. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you to anyone out there who's been watching, who's been
Yeah,
sticking around,
thank
hanging
you,
out.
everybody.
Thank you for the likes. And full version will be up on YouTube, so you can check it out there.
Can't wait. Thanks again, man.
Take care, man. Have a good night.
See you later.
Bye bye.